Hello and welcome. Today we're looking at the ROPAA issue. Now this is an issue that's been discussed for quite some time now. Now what's the ROPAA about? Well, Ghanaians abroad are saying that, well, according to the constitution, everybody who's Ghanaian should be able to register and vote. I don't think the constitution actually gives a location of where that Ghanaian is. Therefore, even if you're in Iceland, Spain, or wherever it is that you have connections with Ghana, you should be able to vote, particularly if there's an embassy there representing Ghana. But then the reality is, just a few weeks ago, we were just trying to get a limited registered, voter where people who have turned 18 or decided to put their names on the register should come and vote. The mayhem, the confusion, the saga. So it makes you wonder, if the average Legon student cannot walk from their hall just to the gate to put their name down, how are we going to get names of people in America and UK and Germany? But they are saying, to hell with the organization, the law is the law, is the law applied. Folks, my name is Nana Nsakwa, Akwamodu Masahine, and your host. When I come back, I have some distinguished guests who are going to talk ROPAA. Don't move. Well, quite recently, a group of patriotic citizens who came and formed the Progressive Alliance movement. I'm talking to the guy who's on New York based. This is Dr. Kofi Boateng, who's the chairman of the Progressive Alliance movement. They recently hauled the EC to court, demanding that you should put measures in place so that Ghanaians living abroad would also vote. I'm here to find out how practical it's going to be, and if indeed it will ever happen in our lifetime. What is the court saying? Doctor, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, so thank you too. Now, I know this case has been dragged to court, so I don't know to which extent you're able to talk about it, but I guess once I ask the questions, then you're not liable anymore, because it wasn't like you're talking about it. I was asking you about it. What exactly have you taken the EC to court for?
Well, let's roll back a little bit. The Act 699, which is the Representation of the People Amendment Act, also known as ROPAA, was passed by Ghana's parliament in February 2006. That's just about 10 years ago that this act was passed. And the act was simply to enable Ghanaians living abroad to exercise their constitutional enfranchisement, i.e. their right to register and to vote. As you said, the Constitution doesn't bar anybody from where they live to vote. So the law was passed. 2 elections have come and gone since the law was passed in 2008 and 2012. And we haven't seen the law implemented. The law specifically had a provision that the Electoral Commissioner will come up with a constitutional instrument to implement the law. And to this day, 10 years after the law was passed, we haven't seen the first letter of the said constitutional instrument. So that is the purpose of hauling the EC and the Minister of Justice to court, to implement the law so that Ghanaians living abroad will vote.
Doc, challenges here. And in my intro, I was even telling you about a simple thing as just getting names of people who've now turned 18 or people who have decided to add their names onto the register. It is such a complicated issue. Fights, macho men, motorcycles, distractions, arguments, fallouts. How do we extend, to write a CI to cover you so far away?
Well, the Electoral Commission is not new to the business of supervising elections. Specifically, Ghana's Electoral Commission. They've been at this for 24 years, okay, since the Constitution came into being. And they have supervised several elections, including supervising Nigerians, people from Niger living in Ghana, to vote in their own country's elections. And the Electoral Commission has a whole instrument already existing, okay, that covers how voting is conducted. So it is not the time for the Electoral Commission to go to school to learn how to conduct elections. Imperfect as they may be, no country has perfect electioneering system, okay? So the fact that there are issues doesn't mean that a constitutional provision should be ignored. Otherwise, what we are saying is that we are not a country of laws. We are also saying, by saying that, oh, because there are problems, we shouldn't do anything. Well, that is like saying that if somebody has a Mercedes-Benz, somebody has a Toyota, somebody has a Hyundai, and we're all going from point A to point B, we can't say that since the three cannot all afford a Mercedes, nobody should go anywhere, you see? So different states of challenges pose different solutions, and that is the EC's job to do. That is not our job. The EC, from their rich experience, should, and we believe they can, be able to come up with a how to do it.
Doc, why do you think, I mean, it's been 10 years.
Yes.
I mean, why do you think it's taken 10 years and still there's a dilly-dally or there's a reluctance to pass this law?
Well, I'm not here to talk politics. We don't, Progressive Alliance Movement is not a political party. It's apolitical, it's non-political, non-ethnic, and we don't take sides. But we will also all admit that Ghana happens to be a very politicized country, meaning that every issue is seen in the terms of left and right, this party or that party, to go nameless for my purpose. And if you ask me why hasn't it been implemented for 10 years, the answer lies in that phenomenon.
Too much politics.
Well, it is a question of what do we put first? Do we put nation above party or vice versa? So to the extent that we live in a country where we put party above nation, then you have this dragging out.
I mean, maybe you don't want to say politics, but you know, I like to sometimes face reality. If you look at the demography of Ghanaians who have traveled abroad, you will find out that a great percentage of them will be Akans. Akans most normally would lean towards you know, the MPP tradition. So an NDC tradition would probably not be too keen on getting you guys to come and vote, and then you'll vote, because they, you know, the votes here, it's only like 30,000, 50,000 that decide a vote. And, you know, I wouldn't want to add a headache of you guys in America, Germany, or, you know, voting on my blind side. I don't even know what they are voting. So it's going to be a challenge, even though you don't want to talk politics. That seems, you know, will be a challenge.
Well, the reality of elections is that every political party has to go make its case. Okay, and we are talking about an avenue of allowing people to register their constitutional and human right. That's all. Once we get past that, every political party of any persuasion is an open forum. Right now, as we speak, you see, we shouldn't speak with blinders on. All the political parties, at least the major ones, travel abroad to raise monies, okay, to support their campaigns. They all do, all right? So now, all that they have to do is make their case of why they should be elected. And I would not be the one to say that a Germany or a Togo or the Ivory Coast or a US will go one way or the, I have no way of knowing. It is not my responsibility. I'm not running a campaign. The people running campaigns, we are actually enabling them to have a wider audience, a wider potential voters to make their case to. And the reverse is also true. The reverse being that perhaps they will have a wider group of people who will be critical or be more persuaded in terms of voting for one or the other. It's like saying that, back to my car analogy, it is like saying that let's not build a tarred road from one place to the next, because if you do, only one type of vehicle will go through it because it happens to be going to such and such a place, which is a fallacy. Because once you build the road, you've enabled any kind of vehicle, including bicycles and motor vehicles, articulators, and so on, to go through. It opens opportunities for businesses to be built, hotels, and so on. That's what we should be looking at. We should be looking at the wide opportunity for advancement, because the truth of the matter is that voting and expanded voting precede development. So when we talk about putting nation first, we are talking about putting the priority of development ahead of selfish interests.
At 0560-800-000, 0560-800-000, what's your view at home? Are you for ROPAA? Or you think, no, hold on, we have our own issues here? Send your messages in and then we'll be discussing. But then somebody would say, I mean, you guys are abroad, you are earning your dollars and you're comfortable. Yeah, we are in our doom zone and everything, and so what do you want to vote for?
We want to vote to end the doom zone. We want to vote to end poor education. We want to vote to end lack of leadership. We want to vote to end lack of poor health. Let's not forget that there's no such thing as a Ghanaian living abroad who is completely disengaged. There's no such thing. We know the phenomenon of Ghanaians who cross the Sahara Desert, go through the Mediterranean Sea, die to just get out of Ghana so they can earn some money to send home. Even while death is scaring them in the face, they are thinking about their relatives back home. If they earn so many liras, they are thinking about sending at least 50% back home. Okay? So if there are challenges in the country because of economics or what have you, it equally affects the Ghanaians abroad. They respond. We all know the volume of massive multi-billion-dollar support that Ghanaians living abroad send here to support the economy. So we are all intertwined at the navel.
I'm going to take a break here, and then when I come back, do we run the risk of Ghanaians abroad just voting on a presumption and giving us a leader that we don't want? Because at the end of the day, we are in the heat. They just know we are in the heat, but we are feeling it. Do you run the risk of them saying, no, this guy will be better for you when we know what's better for us? Who knows? Stay tuned, we're coming straight back. Well, thank you very much for staying. Are you a customer of Guaranty Trust Bank? Do you know that you can buy airtime from the convenience of your own home or office using the GT top-up service by dialing the short code *737#? Guaranty Trust Bank is rewarding customers who are yet to activate the GT top-up service from Monday 15th February to 14th May. Haven't we passed 14th of May?
Yeah, we just passed it.
We just passed 14th of May. Try your luck and see if it happens. But to activate the GP top-up service, you dial *737# on your mobile phone and enter your GT bank account number. You are then required to key in a 4-digit secret PIN, confirm and complete your activation process. GT top-up is the most efficient and reliable means to buy airtime for yourself, family, and friends, wherever and anytime. The short code is *737#. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Guaranty Trust Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us? Now, this one says the nation's heartbeat. The Ghana Premier League shows every Saturday on your leading channel, Adam TV, for all the cheers, jeers, tears, suspense, and thrills. Don't miss the Never Say Die Accra Hearts of Folk, my team. The fabulous Kumasi Asante Kotoko. I'm sure Doctor is a Asante Kotoko fan. The mysterious Ebusunya Dwarves, Sekendi Hazakas, and the new kids on the blog, Mediama, Liberty Professionals, Brekum, Chelsea, Techiman City, Wa All Stars, New Edubiasi, and all the other Premier Giants on your favorite channel, Adum TV. Every Saturday, it's Ghana Premier League, only on Adum TV. Yeah, Azia, oh yeah. Did I get you right that you were Kotoko fan?
Used to be.
You used to be. Yeah, I'm still a full BI. The only team that ever produced a head of state. General Ankara used to play for Hearts, so, you know. But back to the discussion on the table. And, you know, we are all here and we're going to vote, and looking at our situation, we assume that, look, candidate 8 will best suit us. You are far away there and you're thinking, no. Looking at our situation here and where we are and how things are, candidate B would be better for them. And your vote may tip and give us a candidate who may not be good for us.
Okay, let us look at other countries. Okay, I think in Ghana we have a tendency to think that we are the only country in the world, and whatever we do, it is the first time any country is doing it. Well, I have news for Ghana. In the case of overseas voting, there are 115 out of 196 countries that have different laws of enabling overseas countries, of which 27 are in Africa, of which 14 are actively implementing ROPAA. And there have been many cases this way or that way, as you are trying to imply. In Cape Verde in 2009, they had an election, okay? And what you are saying did happen, where the count of overseas voting, as you say, tilted the winner, all right? But it was accepted. Nobody fought over it. The country didn't disappear, and they went right along. Why? Because, number one, the definition of us and we, all right? There's no such thing as them and us. It is all of us, because the majority, as I keep saying, of Ghanaians living abroad are really practically economic refugees. And they reflect what is going on in Ghana, and they live to send significant, more than 50%, including myself, okay, of their earnings back home to support the families, okay, through education, housing, health, and on and on and on, including bringing in businesses, including bringing their hard-earned retirement income to come and open businesses. So it's a cycle that continues through. Today you are here, Nana, interviewing me. Tomorrow you may be living in Togo, in Germany, in the US, but you will not forget Akwemu. You achieve there, you will always be achieved, you will always be thinking about Akwemu. And whatever you earn, you'll be thinking about a school there, a JSS there, a police station, a health service, and so on. So the point is, there's no such thing. They say blood is thicker than water. Just crossing the ocean, that water doesn't erase our being Ghanaians and caring for Ghana. Ghana, no nation is any longer a geographic definition. It's where your people are. When our leaders travel, they go to look for Ghanaians. And what do? They encourage Ghanaians to entice businesses to come and invest in this country. Were it not for Ghanaians living abroad, Ghana would still not have oil in commercial quantities. It was brought here, the Cosmos was brought here by Ghanaians living in Texas, okay, who brought Cosmos, and I could go on. Western Union was brought here by a Ghanaian living in California. The World Trade Center was brought here by me, okay? Here's an example for you. You can go ask Togbe Afedi, all right, and he will attest to it. So the point is, there's no such thing. My friend who is accompanying me was a professor at Penn State. He came to become the head of Ghana Business School, and is invested to open a manufacturing company. So it's a cycle, a continuous cycle, here, there, and we all go. Tomorrow, you will need to vote because you may not be here. So it's a provision that is open to all Ghanaians who happen to find themselves living abroad. But there's no division of us versus them.
Let's hear what some of the viewers are saying. This one says, Nana, good evening to you and your guests. Nana, please, the vote cast here in Ghana are not properly counted for. How much more abroad? I think our EC is not prepared to handle ROPAA. Let's go to another one here. Okay, no, you're talking about something to do with NADMOT, nothing to do with us. Okay, this movement is another leg of NPP's vocation of sabotaging the EC at all costs. ROPAA was roundly defeated and dead, and so should it remain. But I pity the NPP because the configuration and scale of Ghanaians in West Africa would make a fool out of their motive. Koshi Boduvu Hayevo. Good evening to you, Nyabro. This one says, Nana, please, with due respect, I think you people in the media do not help much in strengthening our democracy. What shows at all Ashanti belongs to the NPP? I think it's high time you in the media use the power of the media to educate people in this particular issue. Tei Inusa Tamale. Really, Tei? Are you not in this country? You don't know that in the Volta is more pro-NDC and Ashanti is pro-NPP? I mean, there's no sin about it. It's just what it is. It's not what I did in the media. Just go and look at, Google it, just test it. So Tei, as for this one, I beg to differ on it. I didn't create it. It is what it is. Good evening, Nana. The advocacy for the full implementation of ROPAA is essential but highly untimely. Back home, the EC is saddled with a whole gamut of issues to deal with before election 2016. Conspicuously, the EC seems to be running out of time for ensuring the smooth implementation of the various guidelines and roadmaps that will ensure a credible voter register. The rationale for which I reckon ROPAA may not see the light of day. This is Jacob. Let's just battle with some of these few things before we move ahead. And yes, I mean, the EC's got so much to do. We're moving election now to November and everything. I mean, can we really accommodate ROPAA now? That's what he's saying. Look, the timing may not be right.
There's no such thing. The EC just recently in March, announced that they're expanding the polling stations from 26,000 to 29,000. Okay, why do they do that if they have all these issues? Why are they adding another 3,000? Mm-hmm. And while they were added, there are only 75 Ghana missions abroad. Okay, much less than adding 3,000. So if it's a matter of planning, it's a matter of looking forward and doing the same systems of representation and counting and so on. So we are not asking for any special dispensation. We are simply saying, if you are going to register, include us. If you're expanding the polling stations, include us. If you are voting, include us. Us being Ghanaians living abroad. Mm-hmm. That's it. Nothing more. We are not asking the EC to do anything out of the realm of their job description. And after all, here is Act 699, and it simply says here that the Electoral Commissioner shall, by constitutional instrument, make regulations to prescribe the modalities for the implementation of this act. And that's all that we are asking the Electoral Commission to do. Do the job that the Act 699 asks you to do.
Let me go to the phone and acknowledge my brother, lawyer Samson Ladi Ayenini, who indeed is a counsel for this case. Samson, you're welcome.
Hi, Nana.
Yes, good evening, my brother, and welcome. Samson, I'm going to take straight a message from WhatsApp and then start with that. This one says, what the gentleman is saying about the overseas voting is a good thing, but the timing is not up. Countries that can do that are those that have a good identification system. In many African countries, Ghanaians have no identity, no passport. And that's what they're saying. So, something basically, what they're saying is that we don't even have an ID to even make sure that these guys who are there going to vote, how do we even know they are Ghanaians?
That will be an indictment on the Parliament of Ghana, starting from the executive that promulgated this law. I believe that a lot of thinking went through. These arguments have already been canvassed, and they have not been deemed to be winning arguments. It is the reason through cabinet, through consultations and meetings all over the country. If you remember the processes that led to the passage of the law, so Parliament endorsed it. So it is law as we speak. That is what it is. And so I would like to see it within that lens, Nana.
Samson, if I take, like the USA, they have 52 states where I think 50 states, where there will be Ghanaians in all these 50 states. I mean, do they all fly to Washington to vote, or do they all vote in these 50 states and then leave that aside? Then you come to the UK, the Germany. I mean, there's so many countries, every corner of the earth, there's one Ghanaian or the other. So, I mean, what does the EC do? Get a ballot box and fly around the world?
Not too long ago, Nigeria's EC commissioner was in Ghana, and I'm sure that the Ghanaian EC sought some advice on how to go about the elections, because Nigeria's EC commissioner had done such a successful work and was applauded for it. I'm sure that if we are interested, we may have asked the Nigerian EC commissioner, how do they do it? We may want to ask all the African countries that, implement ROPAA, how do they do it? But I'm not too sure it's that of a difficult job, because already, as you may be aware, Ghanaians, who are working with Ghanaian missions and embassies abroad, Ghanaians who are on UN, projects abroad, all of them vote. They actually register and vote. You remember how controversial a certain number of votes became a matter in the Supreme Court. So I'm not in doubt at all that this is not a difficult thing to do, and we do not need to reinvent the wheel. It exists elsewhere. It exists just next door. We should ask how it is done, particularly in this technological world. I'm thinking that we'll be sending ourselves many decades back if we still want to think in a manner that suggests that this is impossible. It's not doable. In any case, it is law. The law says this is what it is, that Ghanaians who are abroad should be able to vote. It is just unfortunate that the law that ought to have been implemented long ago still remains unimplemented, and the EC just recently rolls out a 5-year strategic plan and says that they intend to do this in 2017 or so. So again, the question is the issue is that it is really not an issue, because the EC itself has just indicated that they intend to implement it, except that this indication is coming after they have been sued, because they had been quiet, they had been silent, they had been unresponsive all the time that they had my clients have sought to deal with them, and unfortunately they didn't bother. Just when they were sued, about a month after they were sued, then they put it on a piece of paper to announce to the world that they intended to do it. Would rather that they put those arguments before the court of law.
Samson, let me come in here. Now, number one, you see, on paper, it's fine. In reality, I mean, the budget that the EC presented was slashed, heavily. So they are seriously underfunded. Even though it's law, I mean, F-cube is also a law where every child should be in school, but we drive past them at traffic lights every day. So on paper, there are so many laws, but in reality, can we do it?
It is a basic human right that Ghanaians who live abroad are entitled. And if we forget that the remittances that these Ghanaians send to Ghana, we have had a situation where the remittances put together was more than our tax revenue, total tax revenue here in Ghana. What they brought in was more than our total tax revenue. So these people have a right that ought to be respected. In fact, they are not supposed to be considered as people who are somewhere and we are elsewhere. They are part of us. We have very recently provided for prisoners to vote. Convicted prisoners prisoners are a liability to us. We have given them the right to vote. How much more people who are an asset to this country, people whose contribution exceed your total tax revenue? Nana, it is unthinkable. In any case, we have been pushed to this point, and we are in the court, and we are urging it on the court that the various provisions of the Constitution are very clear. If you also look at Article 13 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, this is a violation. If you look at Article 25 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, this is a violation. If you look at Article 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, this is a violation. If you look at Protocol 1 of Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, this is also a violation. If you look at our own Constitution, Article 17 to Article 42, this is a clear violation. And it ought to be done and done now. There's no excuse for it.
Something, what happened to the spirit of the letter, the interest of the nation, the cost to us? I mean, I know the law is the law is the law, but, isn't there a cut-off point where you think that, listen, folks, you are entitled to vote, but we are stretched to the limit, hang on. If we increase the GDP a bit, we may rope you in. But now, if we bring you in, we might have to slash some maternity homes or send some orphans homes because there is no cash. I mean, can't we look at things from that angle?
And Nana, we have been stretched for how long now? For 10 years? Oh. Don't you even get the indication that these are rights that we have violated with such impunity that we now get up in 2016, about a month after we have been sued. Now we go to announce to the nation that we intend to implement this in 2017. And even in 2017, the suggestion in the EC's strategic plan is that by that time they'll be able to provide a roadmap. Are you not tired that the Farijan suggested that this was supposed to be implemented earlier and it wasn't implemented? I think that, and for the fact that, these people have had to take the trouble, a right that they ought to have enjoyed, a law that was passed by this country, which they were supposed to have enjoyed, they are now having to come and beg that it be done, that they have sought written to the EC, sought audience, and they have been ignored. I think that it is a sad commentary on our democracy. It's a big embarrassment to all of us that we have this in our laws, and we have countries just by us that we claim we are more democratic than them, that we are Ghana, we're first in what, first in everything. But when it comes to this, we are such an embarrassment to the world. In fact, when the president had a meeting with them in abroad, he expressed the same, disbelief that this, law has not been implemented, and gave his commitment that this ought to be done. It ought to be done and done now.
Samson, hold on for me. Let me come to studio and speak to Doc, just to give us a picture. Those of us who's probably not been to the USA before, I mean, that's huge, probably, West Africa and counting. Now, how many Ghanaians are in the US, approximately?
I would say at least 1 million.
Whoa. ROPAA. 1 million. So, everybody will fly to Washington to vote, or you'd have central points for...
Okay, let's clarify this once and for all. Again, we go to Act 699. We don't have to guess anything, okay? Paragraph 2 of the Act says the Commission may, the Commission being the EC, may appoint the head of a Ghana mission or embassy abroad or any other personal institution designated in writing by the Commission as a registration officer to register as a person to be a voter for an election. In other words, the Act itself is saying that the voting should, by necessity, occur at Ghana missions and embassies. And I just told you, there are only 75 in the whole world, all right? So the point is, once you enable the implementation, then it is the responsibility.
How many missions are there in the U.S.?
Only 2. We have one in New York and one in Washington, D.C. That's it. So if I live in Minnesota, then the responsibility falls on me to travel. That's not the EC's problem. Okay, in the same way, why is the EC expanding the polling stations from 26,000 to 29,000? Because in the EC's own words, they want to make it convenient and reduce the travel distance. The point is, in all elections, there's also, the responsibility goes both ways. The state sets up the instrument, then the responsibility is on the potential voters to make themselves available and avail themselves of the right. Okay, so nobody is saying that they have to carry ballot boxes to my house, to my street, to everywhere. There's no such thing. Because they don't do that in Ghana anyway. Because the Constitution of Ghana says the EC can expand, just like they are doing, the voter register of polling stations as they see fit. Okay, and again, Ghana is not the first country to do this. When elections come in South Africa, they line up, they travel from near and far and go to the mission in New York and they vote and they go home. And that's what it is. Okay, no one is saying that carry ballot boxes to Papua New Guinea, to every street, every nook and cranny of the world, because that's not realistic, and we are not asking for that. We are simply saying do exactly as this piece of paper says you should do. But if you haven't even started, okay, after 10 years, as our attorney Ladi was just saying, then what is your case? And Attorney Ladi referred to the strategic plan of the EC that came about after they had been sued. So they snuck in some paragraphs on ROPAA. And what did they say? This is not my words, their words regarding ROPAA, okay, which, by the way, they have the wrong indication of a law, but that's beside the point. They say here, there is currently no plan. Their words, there is currently no plan. So how do we sit and say, oh, wait till the GDP goes up, wait till we finish this, if after 10 years, the EC in their own words can say there's currently no plan? How do we even believe them when they say in here that beginning in 2017, after the election, we will begin to educate? That's what they say here. Clearly defined roadmap. We'll begin to have a roadmap in 2017. After that, isn't that a direct insult to Ghanaians, as Samson Ladi said, who contribute more than the total revenue collection from taxes in the country? Isn't that a sign of bad faith? Isn't that a sign of admission that you've never had a plan, you don't have a plan, and you don't intend to have a plan? This is what has forced us to go to court.
Samson, doctor has a case here, a strong case. But, the reality is, look, we've just finished branding. We have just finished limited voter registration. We've moved elections forward by 1 month. Charlie, we can't have another million people from the US. You have the UK, you have Germany, Sweden, all over the planet, Japan. The president is meeting people in Japan. I mean, how are we going to register all these people? We could barely register people in Legon.
Let's ask Senegal how they do it. Let's ask South Africa how they do it. Let's ask Namibia, Niger, Mozambique, Cape Verde, South Sudan. Let's ask them how they do it. and they don't do a miracle. It's not magic. And I'm saying that we're actually in a technological world now. It may even be that the process will not require having to cut ballot boxes to any state. In fact, the EC in their strategic plan suggests that they intend to graduate it. I believe that many other places did it the same way. They start from one point and then move on to the next. For our EC, they already have the practice. We'll be going to the elections, and they will take ballot boxes abroad for people who are Ghanaians to vote, except that is what reveals the discrimination. What makes that person in a Ghanaian and abroad in the missions or in UN, whatever? What makes them more special than Dr. Boateng, who is sitting by you? I mean, I don't get it. What makes any other person more special than those who are contributing more than your tax revenue put together? In any case, it is their birthright, and they ought to be allowed to vote. It's as simple as that. If they have been sitting on this right and violating it in the manner they have done, well, it is now we give them the opportunity to explain to the court why they have been violating the rights of Ghanaians in the manner they have done. Let them come and answer that. The president says this is long overdue. It ought to be done. It should go beyond rhetoric, shouldn't it?
Well, let's listen to this one. Says, ideally, these progressive National Alliance chaps have a point, but I'm afraid they are fighting a long-lost battle. I sincerely think their suit should have been long before the EC scheduled its time, especially for the opening of the register for the new registrant. The EC gets its financial resource based on activities it would embark upon, which obviously is without a ROPAA consideration this year. They may just have to wait a while longer to vote to see the transformation they so much wish to see back home. I pray they don't come and choose any quack leadership for us to leave us to enjoy their rich economies overseas, though. From Berima in Kobaji in Jene. I'm going to take a quick break, and then when I come back, the conversation continues. But I think something just opened a can of worms that, hold on, is the EC already sending boxes there for the missions to vote? We're coming straight back. Well, hello and welcome back. And just before the break, we read a message from Ubaji, who was thinking that, listen, the EC may have already gotten their budget for upcoming elections, and clearly they did not factor in ROPAA. So even if the Supreme Court says, yes, go and register them, how do they register them? And Samson also raised another point by which apparently the missions are already voting. So it's not strange to send the ballot boxes there. So you just have to go and also add your votes to it.
That is really the core of the, that's why ROPAA has that word amendment in it. Because PNDC Law 284, which is the law that Ghana's elections are governed by as we speak, okay, has a section in there about overseas voting. And it limits, I'm talking about what goes on right now, okay? It limits overseas voting to Ghanaians who work for Ghana missions, international organizations, okay? And it's a very, very small number, of course, all right? So that has been going on for years and years and years. And as Samson referred to, there was some issue about that number, So the point is, you see it's already doing that. And so the discrimination is that you have this privilege, this for a small number, and then you have intentionally turned your backs on the larger number. That's it. So what the ROPAA law did was simply to say, extend the same provision of overseas voting to all Ghanaians who are 18 years and of sound mind, as Article 42 of the Constitution says. That's it. That's the whole thing. So here we are, as you said, Samson opened a can of worms. if ROPAA is not being implemented, okay, then the EC also has to come out and make a statement that Ghanaians working for the missions will also not vote, because that piece of PNDC law has been amended. And if the EC continues to do that, they have violated the law of the land. So if the bigger group of Ghanaians don't vote, then nobody votes, according to the current law. The second amendment that ROPAA did was that the current PNDC law has a section in there that says that you have to live continuously in a place for at least 6 months, a minimum of 6 months before you can register to vote. You know, you are from the chief of in the Akwamu area. You know that if somebody wants to vote in your area and they live in Accra, they wouldn't necessarily go and live there for 6 months just to satisfy that law before they vote. And so that the reality of that situation made Parliament, as Samson said, after a lot of thinking and consultations and facing reality, amend that also to simply say, or you hail from the area. So I have to say that I hail from Sewia, my village, and I can go there and vote. I don't have to stay there for 6 months. So once again, if ROPAA is not being implemented, then nobody can just vote from their constituency unless they prove that they've been there for 6 months. So it is not simply a matter of extending the franchise to Ghanaians living abroad. It is following the law. That's it. Okay? So either you follow the law or you don't follow the law. And if you are not going to follow, then tell everybody that you're rolling the clock back to the age of darkness.
I don't know, have I still got Samson on the phone? Audio?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Samson, one of my WhatsApp messages raised an issue which I had raised earlier, but I think he went further to say, look, the EC has already presented its budget, and clearly, ROPAA is not part of it.
Well, let's wait for what the court will say. If the court makes an order today that this is what has to be done, you have no option. It is part of the reason it is not only the EC that's been sued, but the Attorney General as well. Attorney General represents, the government or the cabinet, so to speak. So if the order is made, I'm sure that we'll find the money, if it is money that is the problem. In any case, the EC has not told any one of us that they are unable to implement ROPAA because they have financial challenges. They haven't told us that. In July 2007, the EC's Director of Public Affairs, Yokedu, then had told the whole country that the EC was working to formulate regulations for the implementation of the ROPAA, and that at the time they were going to travel, take a tour of Asia, Europe, and the Americas and Africa. African countries where diaspora votes was happening. In the same year, in November, Dr. Kujaa Farijan, the chairman, also had announced to the whole world that they intend to implement, that they were preparing to implement the ROPAA in stages. Okay, so where have they been? If they decided to go to sleep, then that is their business.
This one is from Francis Bokolo in the Volta region. It says, respectfully, EC can't do anything about this abroad registration. Just look at what happened in Legon. So these are some of the messages coming. These are some of what people are thinking. ROPAA is good, but so long as we don't have credible data Ghanaians living outside Ghana, then we should forget about it. Surely government in power will abuse it and bloat the register just like we are experiencing here. Until we know who a Ghanaian is and where they live legally, we can't have a credible register. Benjamin Obeng Ajimang in Sunyani, so they will bloat the registers abroad. Ghanaians abroad do not know expertly what is happening in Ghana and should not be allowed to vote while they are outside there. They should come and register in Ghana.
They should that is a big fallacy. They are building this country. Their contribution to building this country perhaps maybe more than whoever it is that send that text and make that claim. But let's make it clear. This is a law, and we Ghanaians pass the law. Pure and simple. If the court makes the order, unfortunately, it ought to have been done without an order of the court. But if the court makes the order, the EC and cabinet have no choice. They have to implement it.
Thank you very much, Samson. And let me give the last word to Dr. Boateng in studio, chairman of Progressive Alliance Movement, New York. How far are you going to take this battle?
To win.
I like that. Until there's a win. So I think it's been explained very clearly. Ghanaians, wherever you live, you should be allowed to contribute your quota with regards to who runs this country. And it's the law, unfortunately. So the law is the law is the law and has to be obeyed. I want to say thank you very much to Tantis Fashions, who produced my shirts for the show. And you can reach Tantis on 024-366-2001. 024-366-2001. Give Tantis a call and get yourself a nice shirt fit for a king. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And I've been educated. I'm sure you at home have been educated. But this has just started. It's one of those issues that will come back for discussions again. Tomorrow, we're back to do this all over again. Thank you for watching.
PM Express was brought to you by
Guarantee Trust Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us?